Well, greetings. Welcome back to another episode of the Death Taxes and Sports Podcast. My name is Jeff Long. Excited to be here with another good friend of mine, Mr. Gary Johnson, going all the way back to the Johnson Wales days of 2007. Can you believe it, Gary? I've known you since 2007, too.
Long time.
I remember when I first met you. I remember that exact moment. I was like, we're going to do a podcast together.
Obviously, you must have had great fortune telling skills because I didn't know podcasts were a thing in 2007. But
look at my shiny hat. I can see into the future now. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. So Gary, we're gonna chop it up, man. It looks like it's you and I until this Tigney comes on, and then Ben, if you're watching, I hope that England is treating you well, sir. So tonight, man, we're going to be discussing some recent Steelers moves. We got a little bit of NCAA tournament for men and women. Got to show the love to both sides of the gender aisle. And we're just going to chop it up here, man. More barbershop talk. And let's get this thing running here. This Steelers move, rather interesting. There's so much to kind of extrapolate from this. Justin Fields getting traded for a 6th-round draft pick, which I think is horrifically disrespectful for a quarterback who I think is really talented. And Russell Wilson, who I think at this point in his career is who he is, a game manager, maybe with a little bit of upside, but as he gets older, I don't know if it's necessarily getting better. But talk to me, man. How are you, just your thoughts on this one? That's a lot to take in.
What's the one thing that the Steelers provide better than franchise in all of the major pro sports? Stability.
Stability.
Like that is without question. I'll explain from both sides. From the Steelers, from the franchise side of it, you were trying out there either Mason Rudolph, Mitchell Trubisky, or Kenny Pickett. And somehow between those three, you ended up in the playoffs. Well, again, as I said many episodes, I give all credit to Mike Tomlin on that one more than anything else. But be that as may, that team, which because they made playoffs in spite of their quarterback play instead of because of it. And they went out and they got two very capable quarterbacks that if you put them in a solid system, like, I don't know, what Justin Fields had in college and what Russell Wilson had in Seattle, a solid system, there was a lot of success there. It's where I look at them and go, Russell Wilson can extend his career a couple of years off of this move. Justin Fields can de-learn all the crap that he learned in Chicago and know that he has the patience of a franchise that has that stability. When you only have had 4 coaches in your franchise's history, that shows stability. When your franchise quarterbacks are almost all of them have become household names in one point or another, like, it helps. So I think from that side of it, from the franchise side of it, it gives them more life, especially in that AFC North division, which a lot of changes have happened. So you look at Cincinnati, they might be taking a step back with their changes. Cleveland is what it is, and your main rival right now is going to be Baltimore, and they just leveled up in their offense as well. So this move for basically next to nothing, you traded Justin Fields for peanuts. You signed Russell Wilson for next to nothing. Like, you bolstered your quarterback room and didn't have to do a lot for it. And then on the Russell Wilson and, like I said, Justin Fields side, for Justin Fields, give him time to learn in front of a decent quarterback, a solid head coach, and a great organization. He might actually flourish to be that quarterback that we've all talked about him being. I have a feeling it's more Chicago than anything else that was the problem.
Yeah, and let's talk about Chicago. I think, for one, they're different camps. Well, the market didn't dictate for Justin Fields, but my thing is, okay, that could be true, but Justin Fields is a very capable starter who has played a lot of good football as far as his college career and as well as professional career. And there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. And there was a stat where saying in the 30 plus something games that he started, Justin Fields threw for only 200 yards, 6 of those instances. But let's also look at the win catch rate of the receivers. Did they have an ability to be able to get open? Was DJ Moore necessarily doing it? Probably not consistently. That was one of the worst offensive lines during that during that standpoint, and then as well as they were in the bottom half of the league in rushes and pressures given up. So I mean, yeah, you could look at all of that, but I mean, damn, the guy didn't have anyone to really throw to, didn't really have an offensive line, and
That
Matt Eberflus is a little bit anemic.
like that franchise has not been the best run historically. Like outside of that one run, outside of '85 and perhaps in the early stages of the formative years of the NFL, really since '85, they really have amounted to not much. They've had what, one Super Bowl appearance since then.
Yeah, went 12-4 back in 20, I think what, 2018, 2019 with Mitchell Trubisky, but he wasn't the reason. It was the defense.
Exactly. This is a team that has built its identity off of defense over the decades. This is now for them an opportunity to change that narrative by getting somebody in that you can actually build around and, perhaps see what your offense can do. It's obviously it's going to take more than just a Caleb Williams, as is he's the presumptive number one pick. But it's a step in the right direction. And if you didn't feel like Justin Fields was the answer, then this was the move. It's a little late, yes, but at least he is off of their roster and they can focus on the future now wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and and I got to give some credit to the Bears, right? They traded for Keenan Allen, who had a career year. Nota's a little bit older, but he's still a big body who can get open, right? DJ Moore, I think, is more suited for a number 2 role. You got
Yep.
DeAndre Swift, who you upgraded at running back. You still got Cole Kmet, and you still have the number 9 overall pick. So things can get better with them. But if I'm Caleb Williams, do I really want to go to that type of situation? And I want to throw this question at you. RG3 said, I don't remember what RG3 said. He has said that if I'm him, I pull a Eli Manning and I force them to not draft me. Your thoughts?
I mean, I get the idea. Obviously, it worked out for me and my Giants that Eli Manning pulled. I can't sit
Not
there.
one, but 2.
So I can't sit here and go, oh, no, it's a terrible idea. No, it was a wonderful idea for us. I understand RG3's stance by, and for the very reasons that we both talked about, that Chicago's been offensively impotent for a really long time. But saying that, I think this is a little bit different. I think they now have established names in the room that, if healthy, are difference makers. We just named them, and Keenan Allen and and Allen and DeAndre Swift and Cole Kmet. You've named core pieces that this team can grow around. If I'm Caleb Williams, I think that, you're going to have, if I'm Caleb Williams, you're going to have growing pains wherever you go. I think that Chicago is one big move away from really taking that next step. And the big move, of course, is to move on from Eberflus. But who do you get in that place is another question for another time, Belichick. But he never.
Yeah, the Bears got to be very, very, very careful how they do this, because one of the things that makes it very difficult for quarterbacks to develop is consistent change at head coach, changing offensive schemes, changing stability. And I think that I think there have been a lot of good young quarterbacks that have came out the league, but because of subpar like management, being able to have a very clear vision and being able to stick to that, a la a Josh Rosen, who I thought could have been a damned good quarterback in the NFL, was 10th overall and kind of came into a into a bad situation. But back to the Steelers, I don't think all situations are created equal in the sense that we should expect that this division is going to be as competitive as it was last year, right? Because to your point, Cincinnati's kind of on the downward slide, and I'm not sure about Joe Burrow's health, whether he can stay consistently healthy, right? There's always an injury that he's kind of going into. And honestly, I'm not that big on Deshaun Watson. What do you think for wins and losses total for that Steelers team? And do you think they can win the division?
I don't think they'll win the division. I think if all goes right in Baltimore, that's the best team in the AFC, period. So I think that obviously with them being the best team in the AFC, that takes away winning the division title from from the AFC North. I think that this is a 10 or 11 win team. If everything is firing on all cylinders, if you give me the same Russell Wilson that played last season, obviously with a better team around him, no offense to your Broncos, but a better
hey, this facts.
But like a better team around him, that's a 10-win. He's a 10-win quarterback. He's a quarterback that can get you into the playoffs. Now, will he get you to the promised land? No. And I'm sorry, Aaron, I respect your take on this, but I think that Mike Tomlin is allergic to having a losing record, because at the worst they'll be 9-8. But I'm going 10-7.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going on here, and I think the Steelers are going to win the division. A lot of people are like, well, they traded Deontay Johnson. I think Deontay Johnson was a little bit overrated for what they had him as far as like the number one guy. I think George Pickens is going to ascend to levels that we didn't even expect. 25 touchdown passes in the last 2 seasons, and they still had a winning record. So, I mean, you're playing with house money.
And I think Najee Harris will, another year season will certainly help him out. And don't think for a minute that Pittsburgh's done making moves. Like,
yeah,
they can still make moves. There's still trades to be made. There's still free agents out there that we're not discussing. Like, it's going to be somebody that we don't think of that's going to end up in the black and yellow. So,
yeah, and I want to see the NFL first round mock draft here, because I am curious. What position do you guys have? What are you guys, 5th, 6th?
6th.
6th. So I want to throw the question. I want to put the GM hat on. Gary the Legend Johnson is the GM of the New York Giants, the New York Football Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Do I roll the dice for Daniel Jones again, or do I go quarterback? Do I go receiver? Perfect world.
Jeff, I hate this question. I hate it because everything in me is saying you draft a quarterback, stop playing around. You screwed yourselves and you played yourselves by rewarding Daniel Jones off of a very mediocre year that turned into a playoff run that nobody saw coming. You reap what you sow. You took your chance and you move on. I personally don't think that Joe Schoen wants to keep him. Daboll is indifferent, but we know that that's not his guy. If it's me, if I'm the GM, you go out there and you get a JJ McCarthy with that 6th pick, or you hope that there's one of these guys falls back, because I know you don't want to make the same mistake by drafting a quarterback with the 6th pick and it turns out not so well. We just went through that.
With the same pick, Daniel Jones, 2000 and what, with the 6th overall pick,
18. So
yeah,
if it's me, I'm leaning towards going and getting a quarterback in the draft, because it's clear that whatever the plans are, they don't include Daniel Jones. And if we're going to just continue this rebuild, we need to get that contract off the books. It's an albatross, and let him go play elsewhere. Let him try to rediscover his game in another city, and hope, and I don't wish ill upon him, but we played ourselves by thinking that 15-5 was going to be worth more down the line.
Yeah, it's Aaron, you made a very good point. Mel Kiper had said, he made a very good point. He's like, you want to be very careful where you overdraft a player based on need, right? And the way that I look at the Giants have so many other needs other than quarterback, right? And unless you're able to get like a Drake May, to be able to draft a guy like a JJ McCarthy that high, or even like a Bo Nix just out of need, can just be a little bit tricky. I think that with Daboll, he's a very good coach, and I think that he proved that he can coach with decent pieces. And I think he should be the coach there for the foreseeable future. But unfortunately, I don't see it, because I think they're gonna draft a quarterback, probably not be as competitive, unfortunately. And again, unfortunately, he's probably going to lose his job, which I think would be the wrong move because I think he could be, with the pieces in place, I think he could be your franchise coach.
I think if any, I hate to give them any credit, but if anything, you got to kind of look at what the New Jets are doing with Robert Saleh. Like, he has not had a whole team yet. The only time that he did was for 4 plays week 1, and that went to hell quickly. So they're giving him that one more opportunity. Like, let's see what you can do with a healthy team, with a loaded team. You see the move they just made to get Mike Williams from the Chargers as well. Like they're going all in as far as being able to be as competitive as possible. Now, if they turn around and end up with the same 7-10, 6-11 record, then yes, Saleh's got to go. And the same can be said for the Giants. If they turn around, like we're all not expecting them to be super competitive this upcoming season. I think the 4 or 5 wins that they won this year is about where they will be next year or this upcoming season. But I think they have to be smart. I think Giants management has to be smart and realize, like, no, we have not had a whole team yet, because even in the 9-7-1 season that they had, they went to the playoffs. Who was their best receiver that year?
I mean, facts. I mean, skill position players matter, sir. Skill position players matter. I want to throw one more question out to you here, sir. This Jerry Jeudy contract, they signed him to a 3-year, $58 million extension before even playing it down for the Chicago Bears. You got any thoughts on that? I'm just like, let the man play. Let the man play at his 5th-year rookie option, and let's see what happens. To rush to pay him $58 million over 3 years, I don't know.
So the exact same argument that I made about Daniel Jones like 2 minutes ago, let's just apply that here as well. Like, you are paying for potential off of flashes of greatness, but there hasn't been that consistency. You're banking on Jerry Jeudy being your lead dog for Caleb Williams. I get that. But
he went to the Browns.
Excuse me, to the Browns, not the Bears, excuse me. So you're banking on that for insert quarterback here, because I don't even know if Deshaun Watson's going to be healthy yet.
I don't even know if he's even going to play again, to be honest with you, man. I just think that whole situation is just so – that has to be the worst contract in NFL history. For $220 fully guaranteed. I mean, that's a large number.
Anybody could top Albert Haynesworth's contract, but yeah, that's as bad as it gets.
I mean, Albert Haynes with 100, but 100 back then, I guess, when you look at skills economy and all that.
7 years, $100 million. And
I mean, for the salary cap back then, yes.
So, like, yeah. Yes, the Browns do still have Amari Cooper as well. So, okay, if let's change the whole argument then. Yes, Jerry Jeudy going to the Browns, I think, depending on who's throwing to him, can be beneficial. That can shore up that core. And like I said to you before, Cleveland's in this weird position of, like, they're too good to be bad and too bad to be good. Like, you won't be surprised if they go 6-11. You won't be surprised if they go 11-6. Like, you just are like, they're not going to replicate the same success with multiple quarterbacks. They're going to have to, like, lock that down, and we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, man, we'll see. And then we'll get to this question. We'll get to some NCAA talk. How much do you think the current salary cap is going to affect the Chiefs? It's kind of twofold for me. One, I'm not sure if they have done enough to be able to repeat, because I think that they got very lucky last year winning that Super Bowl. So they can't rest on their laurels and be like, okay, we make one move and we're good. I think they should have been a little bit more aggressive going after Michael Pittman, or maybe going after Mike Evans, maybe restructuring the contract, because they need a legitimate receiver. And I'm not sure if this move with Hollywood Brown's really going to do it for me, but Gary.
Yeah, no, I think we talked about when they won the Super Bowl that this was categorically the worst team that Patrick Mahomes had been on, had quarterback to that point. I think the salary cap is not going to help them. I think Hollywood Brown is talented, but his signing him or working on a deal with him kind of screams desperation because they know that like they can't go after the big, they can't offer the big money like these other teams could, and I feel like that may come back to bite them down the line. But I think as long as you got number 15 out there, anything's possible.
Yeah, and looking at over the cap, they only have $7 million left in the cap, so that's going to be a little bit interesting to kind of finagle it. But I think them keeping Chris Jones was a big was a big thing here. Yeah, huge. All right, let's keep this thing going here. Final Four or NCAA tournament. I know how much you love college basketball. We'll make this one as quick, as painless as possible. Our number one seeds, Gary, we got UConn, Houston, Purdue, and UNC. My question is, which team do I think is going to be is the biggest upset, like at risk of getting bounced early? And I'm going to go with Purdue because they just always find a way every single year to disappoint. Like, let me ask you this question, Gary. If you're Matt Painter and you have the two-time unanimous player of the year and I do not make it to a national championship, should he quit his job?
When you've had a certain amount of success, it's harder for somebody to say, no, I can't do this, I'm going to quit. He's may have become a little bit fat and happy off of all the success that they've had thus far, but you're right. To have not been able to cross that bridge when you get there, it's hard. It's hard. I don't think that he needs to quit, but there definitely needs to be more pressure on him, like, because this team is not going to be the same next year. Like people are going to get affected, and you got to start from scratch, and that conference is going to be rough.
Yeah, no doubt. And then and the thing is, Gary, it's like I look at UConn, I look at Houston, and I also look at UNC, and I want to get your thoughts in a situation where like you have Iowa State who won the conference tournament, already a top 10 team pretty much throughout the season, have been ranked against you ahead of UNC multiple occasions, won their conference championship and beat another number one seed in Houston, right? Who have been arguably the best team all country, the whole year. But then UNC loses to an NC State team, and UNC gets the number one overall seed over Iowa State. Your thoughts?
I think the NCAA rewarded the UNC on the talent and the merits of their regular season, not necessarily the conference tournament. Should Iowa State have been a number one seed, I would have put them I may have put them ahead of a Houston. I would put them certainly as the number one seed ahead of them. But you played how you play, and as North Carolina definitely benefited off of having a great regular season, and that's how they still end up with that number one seed.
Yeah, and I'll just go with my final four here. I got UConn, UNC, Houston, and Tennessee, and I got UConn winning it all. I just really like how this, back to back. Did you do a bracket?
I did. I'm pulling it up now. I know that my final four was I believe North Carolina. I know it's North Carolina who I have as my champion. So spoiler alert there.
Oh,
let's see. It was North Carolina. North Carolina, Connecticut. I had Gonzaga and let's see. Yeah, North Carolina, Gonzaga, Connecticut, and Houston. And then I went North Carolina over Houston. I think Houston's due. I think they've been building and building and building, and I think it's been a long time since we've seen them in that championship spotlight. I think this is their time to do that. So,
yeah, it's crazy. It's like this Houston team has 5 seniors, and you normally don't see that. And there were several discussions about like the NCAA expanding, which I mean at this point, 64 teams. What the hell is another 10 going to make a difference? It's all about money. But what we're also seeing is that you got a lot of senior-laden teams because of the extra COVID year. I think maybe next year might be the last year where we'll see like the super, super, super senior. So I just got a feeling, man, we're gonna see a couple. We're gonna see a lot of upsets, man. I mean, it's just gonna be crazy. But kind of pivoted. Do you feel you're a little bit more excited over the women's game versus the men's?
I think I will say the NCAA and the various media networks have done a tremendous job building up the women's tournament because for years it was an afterthought because it was either Tennessee or Connecticut or Tennessee or Connecticut just year in and year out. You know, you throw a Baylor in there every now and then for a little razzle dazzle, something like that. Like you had, it just seemed very like mundane and just like, all right, this is who it is. Now you've got two very compelling stories. Can South Carolina finish the job, finish running the table, winning another championship undefeated? Can Caitlin Clark basically she's already reached icon status in Iowa. Can she reach legend status by knocking off said undefeated team? You still have your usual suspects in Connecticut lurking about there. Like there's definitely more. Forget my homegirl Juju and at USC. Like there is a lot of different storylines, different teams. Like yes, South Carolina is a clear-cut favorite, but who can be the one to knock them off? Like there's a lot more compelling stories in the women's tournament than the men's tournament by far.
No doubt, no doubt. And Wesley, you have some good questions here, buddy. In your mind, who's the current best head coach in college basketball? Man, I gotta go Don. Honestly, man, I gotta go Don Staley right now.
First game that I thought it was Don Staley. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like Gary, like you're talking about a team that went undefeated last year, going into this year, no one gave them the respect that they were due. She completely replenishes her starting five. Oh, and by the way, we're just going to go undefeated again and run the table. And I think this team is even better than they were last year. And just the sustained amount of success that they've had, I got to go Don Staley, my brother.
Yeah, Don Staley. And I think a close second would be Dan Hurley. I think what he did with Connecticut, where Connecticut's always been this weird team. They win a championship and then they don't necessarily fall off, but they kind of go back into the weeds a little bit. Instead, he has them right back as a number one seed. They were number one seed last season, but he has them as a number one seed and really like one of the few that you can say has a legitimate shot alongside of a UNC, alongside of a Houston, and along.
No doubt,
I guess
no doubt. Yeah, I'm rooting for SC. I'm rooting for USC, University of Southern Carolina, South Carolina to be able to win that one. Who you got?
I'm gonna say that because we're gonna give the people what they want. The championship game is gonna be South Carolina and Iowa, and I'm gonna say South Carolina runs the table again. But I think Clark goes down, just putting down an epic performance in defeat.
Okay. All right. I like it.
He might. I'm gonna say she might go ahead and fuck around and drop 40 in the championship game. It might be in a loss.
All right. We'll see. Hey man, we'll see what happens. But let's finish up here with a little bit of basketball talk, man. We got Lakers, we got Golden State, both at 9 and 10. We got Suns. Oh man, I'm not sure how I'm feeling about the Suns with this whole situation. Let's first go with this Lakers and Golden State. What is your temperature check on how these Lakers and Golden State Warriors are finishing? What is your temperature check of these two and their ability to be able to make a run?
At this current time, I think Golden State might be a little bit more equipped to go on a longer run than the Lakers. And the only reason why I say that is, can the Lakers stay healthy? Can Anthony Davis stay on the court and not get elbowed in the eye? Like, I know they expect him to, not miss time with that or anything like that. But if they can stay, like it just feels like they're one of those players like him or a LeBron injury from everything kind of just coming apart at the seams. Like, whereas with the Warriors, they've started to figure this thing out. They've, yes, they do need Bronny's help now too. With the Warriors, they've started to figure out this puzzle. They, with Clay coming off the bench, and not every night's going to be 25 or 30 like he used to, but he can give you those in spurts. And you still Steph is still Steph. You still have Chris Paul. You still have Kuminga and all these other players that like have the championship experience. So like, there's a level of like, okay, they can do what the Lakers did last season as far as like just catching the right teams off guard and finding their way to the conference finals or something like that. The Lakers, they're really going to have to like look. I think both Lakers and Warriors make the actual like 8 teams to make the make the playoffs, but I don't see either one of them like I don't see a championship for either team. So
Yeah, the thing, the one thing I got to say about the Lakers that they like you look at who they got to play in the standings. They're not better. Like last year, like I said, no 2 seasons are the same. Last season, LeBron James and AD missed this bunch of time. There was a stretch after the trade deadline where LeBron James didn't play about 10 to 12 games, which in turn gave him some time to rest and heal. He's actually been playing a majority of the games and is still going to be eligible for postseason awards after meeting the 65 game threshold. Anthony Davis has played all but maybe 4 games. Okay. And this is still the result. The whole point or the discussion that we said, okay, if LeBron and AD can stay healthy with some other pieces, this team, but they have been consistently up and down. And Sabonis has completely owned Anthony Davis, owned him. So do you think they can beat the Kings in a 7-game series? Probably not. Denver, no. I hope they can get the 7 seed and then maybe they can do that 2-7 series against Oklahoma City. I think they match up well against them. But some of these other teams, man, are just flat out better, and you can just see it on the court, my guy.
No, and I think for really any team in the West, they're looking to match up with either Oklahoma City or with the Minnesota because that's an easier route to get out the first round. So if you're the Lakers, if you're any of these playing teams, you almost want like you're gonna want to get that 7 seed. You're gonna want to play Oklahoma City. You're gonna want to get, if you can avoid the play, get the 6 seed so that you can play Minnesota. Because I believe Denver's number 1 right now in the West. So
Minnesota's without Cat.
Right, and that's gonna kind of submarine them at this point of the season. Like, yes, Anthony Edwards has been doing his thing, and he's absolutely going to get love for MVP this season. But I just that team I don't trust. There's too many. It's Anthony Edwards, is Cat, and then what?
I mean, but did you see that dunk by Ant-Man by Anthony Edwards? I mean, where does that rank in all-time best dunks?
And I just want to say, like, but I'm glad he's doing those dunks and not doing like the dunk contest because I feel like he is an excellent in-game dunker, not really like a creative dunk contest type. So, like, let him have these highlights and everything. He's going to be one of the torchbearers for this next generation in the league. But, how much success is he going to have in Minnesota? I'm just going to put that bug out there.
I mean, he signed a contract extension, so I mean, I just kind of feel bad for Minnesota a little bit, man.
Because it did the same thing, and where did he win a championship?
Facts. I feel bad for Minnesota because they've had a great year, and I feel like without Karl-Anthony Towns being like that beta to Ant-Man's like alpha, I just don't. Rudy Gobert is what he is. He's not a post-up type guy. He's there to block, rebound, protect the rim. He does not have any type of post-game, offensive game that's going to scare you. I mean, the man can barely make a skyhook for God's sake.
You may occasionally get a 20-10 game out of him, but you should not be expecting that from him.
All right. So last topic, let's finish up here with a little bit of basketball. These Boston Celtics. Are we trusting them to be able, like, we know what they are the regular season. They're a great regular season team. But I think we both can agree that it's about the postseason for this team and it's championship or bust. Are we confident that they're going to be able to show up in the playoffs when needed? There's definitely some concerns about Jason Tatum. I've wondered since the finals 2 years ago that I do not think he could be the best player in a championship team. I still think he's a great player, but I don't think he can be the player on a championship team.
I mean, right now there are questions: is it his team or is it Jaylen Brown's team? You know, like they're questioning that now. If I'm Jason Tatum, you got to do something this postseason to shut down the questions. Your last two postseason runs have not gone to your liking. 2022, you lose in the finals. Last year, you let the 8th seed Miami Heat come into the building and beat you. And not even like a 2.3 point victory, they beat your ass in game 7. So you
After
got,
being down 3-0.
after being down 3-0, you come back and you force the game 7, wonderful, and you have the opportunity to make it happen on your home court, and you fail to show up. We talk about this with the Buffalo Bills. We talk about this with a lot of the Yankees and all these other teams. If not now, when? When are you going to be that team? You know, is your I mean, yes, because you've seen really, excluding last year, which was kind of an anomaly with the 8th seed making the finals. Look at the last 2 NBA championships. Save for the bubble and save for Milwaukee winning at home, Golden State on the road. Toronto on the road. The last Golden State prior to in 2018 on the road. Like, you have to be able to show up and show out away from your building in the postseason. If you can get those wins and steal back the home court advantage, that is the key to winning a championship. It's been shown time and time again.
What's interesting? It's kind of been like the adverse effect for Golden State, because Golden State, the only reason why they were successful is because they defended home court last year. They had a better home court record, 30-11 in 2022, versus now their away record is actually better this season than the home record this year versus last year, if that makes sense. Which I don't know. I like with Golden State, with a lot of back to ball. Porzingis, we have not seen him in really any real time meaningful basketball in his career. And he's probably the third best player. I don't know, man. There's just something about it. I don't trust Milwaukee because I just don't trust Doc the Flop Rivers. Miami, I mean, are they going to make a run? I mean, I really feel like this Eastern Conference is a little bit more wide open than people are giving it credit for, because we just assume that Boston's just going to rock it to the Eastern Conference Finals and win it.
I can't believe I'm let these words come out of my mouth right now, but the biggest threat to the Boston Celtics right now is a healthy New York Knicks team. I can't believe I said it, but truth, it's if you look top to bottom, if the Knicks, if they get Julius Randle back, if they get Mitchell Robinson back, and everybody can stay healthy just through the postseason, that's the biggest threat to the Celtics right there. It's not the Sixers, it's not the Bucks, it's the Knicks.
It's hard for me to see. Julius Randle is like that perfect, like he's like that pasta dish where it's like you look at the top of it, you really like the ingredients, right? It looks really good. But then once when you start to really dig into the dish itself, you're not impressed with what you see.
You're not blown
And
away.
right, you're really not. And there's just always been like this constant talk of like Julius Randle like being like a guy. And it's hard for me to really give the Knicks any type of love in that type of regard, because they're just so underwhelming as far as superstar power, right? Like with Denver, there's Joker, but then there's Murray, but then everyone else does what they need to do the right way. The Knicks, Jalen Brunson cannot be the best player on a championship team.
I mean, he's kind of proven everybody otherwise right now with the run that he's been on. Listen,
I mean, yeah.
This is a team that they're on this West Coast trip. Everybody said, hey, maybe if they're 2-2, it's considered a good trip. There's a distinct possibility that they could run the table and go 4-0 coming back to the Garden. Like, they've already beaten the weirdest stat. They've beaten the Denver Nuggets 3 straight times. They beat them once already, and then they beat them two times last year. So, like, it's it's a weird stat and a weird anomaly, but it's true. Like, there's a distinct possibility they can come out of this trip 4-0. And people are like, oh my God, he's excited to talk about the next flex. But, like, I'm saying that, yes, Julius Randle is kind of who he is, but if he doesn't have to be the guy and Jalen Brunson showing you, hey, big fella, give me 18 and 8 rebounds or 9 rebounds a night. I got the main scoring load. Give me Josh Hart, the rest of my boys from Villanova. I'm not saying that they can
Josh
win.
Hart is playing great.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if there's a team that can derail Boston on their road to a championship, a healthy Knicks team, absolutely.
I like the Knicks, don't get me wrong, but I just think that they need Julius Randle to be like a dog in a game, and I just
That's
you
what I
see
mean.
what he is.
I don't need him to give me I don't need a 40 piece from he wants a 40 piece. Give me 18 points. Give me 12 rebounds. Give me Zebo. Give me Zach Randolph stats. Give me those stats.
Ooh, Zach Randolph.
Give me
I don't.
Zach Randolph was a
Yeah.
buck. Everybody talked. We talk about good power forwards from that time.
Oh no, Zach Randolph was a beast.
That man was a body, and he was a bucket. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Definitely respected. All right, Gary, let's wrap it up here, man. What grape you got for us today, sir? What is on your mind?
I need everybody that's a Yankee fan to just relax. I get it. Garrett Cole is out. He will be. I get it.
Big one though.
I get it. Baltimore is good. There's 162 games to the baseball season. As long as you tell me that most of our offensive firepower, if you give me Judge for 120 games, 130 games this upcoming season, have him avoid any major injuries, you give me Juan Soto, that's going to be the battle for the AL East. It's going to be them, and it's going to be Baltimore. And I understand you need your pitching. I promise you, good's coming. I don't know who or what, but I just have faith, and I need everybody to just calm down. 82 and 80 was an anomaly.
I mean, I'm with you, Gary. I'm Yankees Nation all the way through since '96. But as an aspiring TV personality, I want to see how it plays out, right? Because to your point, baseball is a game of metrics and numbers. Baseball is one of the more what I love about baseball is that it is one of the highest ratio type of sports as far as different data and metrics to be able to say whether someone is being good or not. But I look at Nestor Cortez, I just don't trust him. I look at Carlos Rendon, $162 million of wasted money, I feel. I mean, we don't have Jordan Montgomery anymore. We got Marcus Stroman that we're throwing out there. And then our bullpen is kind of like, meh. Judge with the toe injury. I mean, DJ LeMahieu is going to be out for a little bit. You got Juan Soto. But I just feel this team is just so underwhelming outside of Judge and Juan Soto, maybe Anthony Rizzo. I don't know, man. I just
Carlo.
You trust Giancarlo? You put him in a conversation as far as viability at this point in his career? I don't.
I'm not asking him to give me 162 games. I'm asking him give me 81. Just give me enough base. No, because I mean the reality of it is
81.
Until they get a Garrett Cole back and get him back up to speed, they're gonna have to outslug teams. That's gonna be the hard part. But I feel like if again everything is predicated on luck and everybody getting their ducks in a row and everything working itself out the way it's supposed to. If it does, that is an offense that can outslug you. It's just a matter of can the pitching do just enough to get by? Can they just tread water just enough and stay relevant?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I want to say you're right, Stats. I don't. I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong. For us, it's about not just winning the division. but beating the Astros. We'll see.
They show that
We'll see.
they're beatable. They let
The
Texas.
Astros? But we're the Yankees. I'm just saying. We'll see. We'll see. 162 games. I got my fantasy baseball lineups going. I'm excited. I'm excited for baseball. Yankees actually come to Phoenix for the first week of April, so I'm wicked excited about that. Can't wait to see the Yankees. So, but all right, sir, it was fun. It was always good chopping it up with you. I think NCAA tournament is going to be rather exciting. There's going to be a lot of upsets. I have zero confidence in my Final Four. We'll see what happens. Maybe UConn gets bounced in the second round. Who the heck knows? But appreciate you, good sir. All right, everyone. Thank you for all the follows. I'm seeing all the people who have been able to tune in, and it's been great. Wesley, thank you for your questions. We definitely do appreciate it. We'll definitely want to do more of these type of questions. But until next time, guys, we'll be back same time, same place, Tuesday, well, probably 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, peace and love, and go Yankees. All right.